have not one, but two full-size empty perfume bottles for you. Woohoo! This is a moment of celebration because it's not that often that I get that to that point, having a 400 plus bottle collection. First one is one of the classics by Guerlain, and I will keep saying that until you're tired and then not tired of hearing me saying it. It's always very useful, even if you're only exploring the new in the niche offerings on the market, to go back and review the classics, benchmarking yourself by what pretty much shaped the history of the perfumery. It will make your nose better and it will make your context richer. So, Samsara, a historic perfume by the historic perfume house Guerlain, or Guerlain, if you wanna practice your French accent, has been reformulated so many times that God knows what it actually smelled like back in the day. So here's the conspiracy, here's the groupthink as we find it today. The classics by Guerlain have been reformulated many times, and every time they reformulated them, they, luckily for us, left some, breadcrumbs for us, the trails that allow us to distinguish between the eras of each reformulation. Unfortunately, in the opinion of most people I know, each new reformulation brings the perfume even further away from its reference point. Nevertheless, a lot of perfumers that were consulted on this matter still claim that despite the IFRA regulations and changes in the supply chain, when they have to change the formula, there are teams of people and evaluation protocols when they ensure that the profile of the historic bestsellers, the iconoclast perfumes that shaped the history as we know it, stay recognizably similar or the same. I got my Samsara in this so-called Bee bottle. It has a very specific shape, and I have heard that this was one of the worst editions of Samsara. Mine is Eau de Parfum. There is, I think, also Eau de Toilette, and I think there are some flankers through the years. So, rumor has it that the new reformulation is the best yet, and that one comes in a different shaped glass bottles. Here's an example. Guerlain Liu. I was chasing it across different duty-free in different airports because apparently that's the only place you can find it these days, with exception of a few boutiques. And this is the shape of the bottle that allegedly has the best reformulation of the classics by Guerlain. I'm just telling you like it is. I definitely enjoy Liu. I'm not sure how similar or dissimilar it is to its grandfather, but this is one of like the best, side note, the best light-hearted, dry aldehydic fragrances that I have. And I'm not a big fan of classic aldehydes, so it's hard to impress me at this point. And Samsara, the one that I finished, I think I used up 20 ml by myself, and eventually I just kind of poured it into a shower gel that I have, just to give it a little bit more of a meatier flavor, because I did not really enjoy it. I tried and I couldn't. It just smells cheap to me. I was expecting this kind of Eastern incense / spices paradise, and it just smelled cheap. It wasn't spicy, it wasn't incensey, it lacked depth and character for me. And this Samsara left me deeply puzzled about what is it about Samsara that people been raving for decades at this point. I'm still puzzled on what's the heritage and what's the legacy of this perfume is, because what I've experienced is a huge disappointment, even though I sure did try. I wasted a lot of skin space and a lot of hours trying to understand this one. I will never buy this again until I get a personal recommendation from one of you, or maybe a decant of a better formulation, because this was I don't know what this was. I was clearly a strategic mistake on whoever was leading Guerlain at the time. The second empty bottle is I'm in love with Colognes by Hermes. I bought it partially because of the bottle. I love the colored glass. I love the shape. I love everything about them except what's inside. I bought this, I held on to it for a long time. I even was willing to resell it, but I couldn't resell it for any decent price. And then I decided that I'm just going to use it as a room spray. And for this, mandarine ambree, or eau de mandarine ambree, is amazing. As a personal perfume, it doesn't last long, and it's kind of too heavy of a composition to be considered a morning fragrance, or like cologne, so to speak. We are so used to associating the word colognes with kind of like morning water, something refreshing, something zesty, something uplifting, and potentially not so long lasting, but you want some kind of punchy freshness or some kind of energy bursting out of the bottle when you buy something from a cologne line. Clearly unisex. This is rather wintry, oily mandarins and orange peel, plus these kind of caramelly amber. I'm not a big fan of this rounded, to my nose, cheap smelling amber. The heavier take of mandarin also brings the frequency of this olfactory profile down toward mid-frequency, which is double confusing because it doesn't last long, it doesn't have much of depth or projection, so it just becomes a very confusing experience. At that point, if I wanted winter orange, I would go with Orange Bitters by Jo Malone, though they don't last at all, but you can bathe in them if you want to. So this was all overall very pleasant but confusing experience, and I loved it as a room spray, but it was not doing it for me as a perfume. So I'm gonna keep the bottle and just use it for decoration because it's cute. But will I ever buy another cologne by Hermes? I don't think so. There are very few, if at all, any perfumes by Hermes that truly captured my heart. The exception is Coloche Délicate, but that's a very ancient, rare flanker that I managed to find two backup bottles of at the depths of the dark net, but it's just no longer available for any of you guys, so I can't really recommend it. And everything else by Hermes so far has not been a hit, oddly enough. I am still looking at, the markets to see if Bellamy or Equipage I could find for a reasonable price, because those two, especially Bellamy, I appreciate. I'm working through a Rouge decant by Hermes, so we'll see. Maybe my opinion will change, but nothing from their garden collection, nothing from other releases that they've had nothing really captured my heart, with exception of, I guess, some of the perfume releases that are targeted toward men. And that's about it. So if you have any advice, please leave it down below. And we're moving on. All right. This is just looking at me. Clive Christian. It's one of those brands like Bottega or others. They're just prohibitively expensive, and I don't know why. I still don't understand what's the who's behind the brand, what's the motivation, what's the story. It's all like royal, rouge, expensive, rich, diva, open your wallet kind of situation happening in the market. I was like, yeah, but no. But I got a decant of Clive Christian Rock Rose, and it's pretty much, I think it's devoted to Cissus labdanum flower. No? Yes? No? It's pretty much a very famous component that's used to create more like a vegetable or botanical component that often creates an impression of a leathery fragrance in perfumery. And it was cool. I really enjoyed it. I can see why it's marketed toward men. I, though, wear it without any problem. You can always layer something fruitier, sweeter, or floral on top of it. Really decent perfume. Nothing bad to say. It's almost like this thin, delicate leather type of scent. Great. Good. But not for that kind of money. So I'm still not sold on any of the Clive Christian fragrances, but I'm open to be convinced otherwise if you have information to share. I personally, I would not notice if this brand disappeared from the market. But I can't say anything bad. It's all right. It's just not for that price tag. Another brand that's kind of piqued my interest recently because they managed to get creative director from Amouage, and Amouage. Alexander Chong pretty much made Amouage what it is. So I was curious what he will do in Thameen. But the fragrance that I have here is one of their classics. It was before Chong's time. Thameen Regent leather. Sweeter, somewhat cardamom-y kind of situation here with the leather accord at the base. It's reliably pleasant and boring. It's on the sweeter side of leather fragrances. Very respectable, very nice, and very boring. So no, I have more interesting leather fragrances. Like, needless to say, it's gonna be very hard for any fragrance to beat Mon Numero 10 by L'Artisan Parfumeur. So, but I'm open to leather fragrances. It's just Regent leather by Thameen did not stand out in any shape or form, and those are, the price tag is there, like up there. Next one, Sense of Wood. Oh, the beginnings of that brand. That was so promising. They collaborated with very esteemed master perfumers, and they made these beautiful looking, naturalistic, nature-inspired bottles. Beautiful. However, I don't know what happened, but marketing never quite landed, and the distribution was confusing, and I didn't notice them working with any of the perfume reviewers that much. So they are there, but the launch, I actually remember, I even wrote them an email back in the day when they just were preparing to launch. And their business model back in the day for Sense of Wood, this is information nobody asked for, but you're here now, and you will know way more about perfume industry than you asked for. Sense of Wood started as a subscription service, believe it or not, and they were trying to do this hyper exclusive luxury subscription service of only like 2,000 something clients that were allowed to be subscribed at any given time. It was fairly expensive, and they said, like, we are going to invite and have very exclusive limited edition, high quality, rare ingredients formulations inspired by different types of raw materials or kind of raw elements such as wood, this and that. And then eventually they, I think, launched full-size bottles, and then they joined Scentbird, and this is how I finally got my hands on them. Cypress and Oak was a rather disappointing molecular sounding musky wood. It's this very predictable sour patchouli type of molecular wood accord that doesn't really develop in any way, doesn't really have any interesting opening, no dynamism in terms of how it goes through time. If it's a mono accord fragrance, fine, but then it smells just like one of those molecule fragrances. So I didn't find the promised luxury and delication in terms of how they treated the wood accord. And I used up the whole thing. 8 ml. That's 8 ml is a lot. It's a whole life that you leave with a scent, and nothing came of it. So no, not really looking forward to any sense of wood fragrances unless you tell me that there is a gem there that I haven't heard of yet. Next one, Kurkdjian fragrances. Thanks to my subscriber, she generously decanted me quite a few. And these sweet, I thought it was a sweet violet, but I might be wrong. Amyris, female. Amyris for woman. I think they have 2. It's very silk blouse type of scent. It's very proper and yet sensually feminine, but it's not musky. So it's like secretary with a little pearl necklace in her perfectly ironed or like perfectly smooth silk blouse. I enjoyed wearing this, but it's not me. I'm not that proper. It kind of reminds me of a lot of other like a violets plus iris with kind of a sweeter rose accord type of scents. Beautiful scent if you're looking to start your personal assistant to a very rich person in Upper Manhattan type of career. It's just not me, but I liked it. It was good. Next one that I used up when I was in Norway and I fell in love with almost immediately as soon as I sprayed it, thanks to my perfume fraghead friend, Tempete de Autumn by Jacques Fath. She gave me a decant. It's soft, semi-sweet, slightly patchouli autumns, like autumn leaves. How it's so fitting. The name for it is so fitting that I'm lost for words how else to describe it. Often fall-like perfumes are either overdo it on amber or overdo it on green, deep, mossy patchouli. Yes, I can sense patchouli here, but it's done without overdoing it on that front. And it just lands as this cloud of slightly condensed, I don't want to say rotting, but kind of like fallen leaves that are just accumulating in huge piles everywhere. And it gives this scent of spicy soil almost. I fell in love with it. I think it's done with huge respect to nature and the art of perfumery in a way that it's pleasant, it's alluring, it's still a perfume. It's not trying to be too naturalistic. I liked it so much and used it up that I got myself not 1, but 2 bottles of Tempête d'Automne by Jacques Fath. This I found for reasonable price secondhand, and this was selling for peanuts. I think it was Fragrance Net maybe or something like that. So yeah, so happy to have it. It's a very fall perfume, and luckily for me it works beautifully both in the cold and rainy weather. When I was in Norway, I really indulged in it. It really brought a lot of warmth into that low 50s weather with 2 weeks of rain in the dark black rural mountains of Norway. And it works remarkably well in the humid heat of Florida August and early fall. So, Viva Jacques Fath Tempete Autumn. Thank you to my subscriber for introducing me to this beautiful fragrance. I am well stocked now. This is a win. This is a hit. And I got myself not one but 2 bottles of it just to be sure. Next is also Jacques Fath. I made myself a generous 5 or 6 ml decant of Velours Bois, velvet wood, and used it up completely, including when I was spending the rest of the summer in Norway. So I got to experience it in the hot and humid and cold and rainy weather. And I must say, this is such a delightfully easy to wear, kind of soft, gourmand-ish, woody perfume. Truly unisex. It's not edible, so it's not overly sweet that, you know, guys would feel like it's an overkill in terms of the dessert gourmand type of quality, but it's not too spicy or austere and woody, not to be enjoyed by people who are more open toward edible gourmands. It's just like right there in the middle. The only criticism that I have, that it's not super long lasting. So, but I have like 100 ml, I think. So if I want, I can bathe in it and it kind of works, and I'm just kind of spray it all over. Another criticism that I have, first, I love the price, especially on the secondary market. It's dirt cheap. Well, not dirt, but it's very affordable. But it reminds me of a lot of other perfumes that I have already in my collection. So it reminds me of Bello Rabelo. They're not exactly the same. This is more like sweet port, but it's kind of the same concept. Something sweet with spices and kind of like woody base. As I said, not exactly the same, but close enough that, you know, this is 200 ml. This is gonna be hard to use up. So I intend to generously share this with everyone who asks. It reminds me of DuPont Noblewood, which is the same concept of sweetened, somewhat boozy wood accord. And probably the best of this family, in my view, is Fabulous Bukhara by Salvador Dali. Not only because an absolute amazing homage to Salvador Dali's sculpture, but also to the fact that here you also get dates. If you like Middle Eastern sweets, you'll appreciate this one. They're not clones of each other, but they're darn close in the family, in what they're trying to convey. So I drank up this 5 ml like nobody's business. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm just gonna do a generous rotation of these 4. I even bought myself accidentally a backup. It was pure accident. I just added it to my cart without looking, and I didn't delete it before checking out. So I have like a lot, which tells me, how about I give you a super secret special code only for the subscribers who are watching this video, and you can get it, you know, for the total amount of a latte. How about this? It's really fitting for the fall, and I think you guys deserve something sweet, something yummy, and something niche, something that not everyone has around you. All right, moving on. Next is Sisley Eau de Campagne. For some reason I was pronouncing Eau de Champagne, but it's not. It's campagne. Pretty much, it's the Sisley's version of a walk in a field in the south of France, I presume. It's supposed to be very herbal, very green, cut grass, things of that nature. And yes, it is, and yet to me it was boring. It was oddly annoying, and I mostly used it as like aromatizer for linens, for purses. You know, you just, when you need something to spray nicer, you just spray it around. It's not too expensive. Eau de Campagne is actually, you can find decently discounted in various places online, but it's not my favorite green fragrance, far from it. So I am gonna just move on. There are much better greens that I have. One example is actually my recent purchase by Jacques Fath. Two, I'm kind of on a kick with Jacques Fath. L'Eau opens with bitter herbs, kind of Artemisia, galbanum, but then such beautiful floral hearts. It's a charmer in the heart, but it's a little bitter and herbal at the beginning. It depends on your taste. You might love it, you might hate it. And actually, if you want, I can make a video about powerhouse greens, like my collection and views on green herbal notes. I already have one video like that. If you want to watch it, I'll leave a link below. But there's been updates since then. So let me know if you're interested. Anyway, Eau de Campagne Sisley definitely didn't make the cut. I used up 8 ml and I'm done. Nothing else to say. It's not something I will look back to. Oh, Gucci. Gucci's boutique line. I hate the packaging of that line. Honestly, don't dig it at all. It's a subjective taste thing. To me, nah, not my thing. But every fragrance I try, with the notable exception of their famous amber, which is the eye of the tiger, not a big fan. Everything else I've tried so far from the boutique Gucci line was compliments to the chef. This one is Winter Spring, and I have a factory sample. These flowers are so elegant, semi-sweet, delightful, that it kind of again reminded me in its general impression of Kurkdjian Amyris for her. It's just this uncertain violets, irises, other flowers. It's very proper. It's very preppy, elegant, and yet feminine, without going to the territory of musks, which is rare these days. So I actually really loved it, but I don't like the packaging. I am shocked by the price tag. So no. Winter, spring, great. If you can't afford it, if it's in your realm of interest, sure, it's well done, well made, but I'm not gonna buy it. Memo Paris Tiger Nest. This is my second or third sample, and I just keep coming across the samples, using them, and not buying a full-size bottle. I'll tell you why. When it comes to sweet, spicy, ambery incense, but really like zesty with like a lot of texture, Tiger Nest is probably unparalleled, but it's almost too much for me. I way prefer Bottega Veneta by Carner Barcelona, Spanish niche brand. There, I still get the same ambery incense mix, but it's softer, it's floral, and to me much more alluring and pleasant. But not gonna lie, it's only a matter of time and opportunity before I land Tiger's Nest by Memo Paris on my shelves. It is an amazing classic by Memo Paris. It's great if you own it. Kudos. Feel free to send me a decant. It's great. Not gonna buy it because I have Bottega Veneta, which I personally prefer more. Next, Gucci Accenti. That was a interesting exposition of what Gucci used to be known for in its kind of 90s era or early 2000s, when Gucci Rush was so popular. It was the era of kind of mob wife Gucci. And I can see how Accenti was perfectly walking that line. For the modern times, Accenti does smell a bit plasticky, just like Gucci Rush. If you heard, it was like an iconic bestseller, but like you look at it now and you smell it now, it's like, huh? Okay. It's just, it didn't age well. Some of the early 2000 perfumes did not age well, just like that music. So I get it. Very mob wife, very like well-rounded, abstract. It walks the line between fruity, musky, and lotiony. But since then, gosh, so many new molecules came around, so many new formulations, and profiles. Like, to be honest, after Baccarat Rouge, which just turned the definition of a mob wife / sugar babe fragrance on its head, and it's essentially the anthem of sugar babes, Baccarat Rouge. This almost smells a little demure and a little kind of like eyes down, oddly enough, even though it was a sex bomb of its time. So I'm so grateful to my subscriber who gave me an opportunity to have a little vial of this now well discontinued hit of the past Gucci Accenti. Those were the times. The mafia. Wow. Those are like it really does take you back. You smell something like that, like, oh my God, 2000s. Early 2000s. Amazing. I am not going to try to chase a full-size bottle. It doesn't have a historical reference in my life. Therefore, I'll leave it for those of you, I'll leave those bottles for those of you who truly care, who really want to bring the times back. But I appreciate the reference. All right, this is going to be tough for me to talk about because this is a beloved fragrance by Killian. And I have been torturing myself trying to finish these 3 samples. I think in total I used up 6 ml, no less, of Woman in Gold. Talking of a perfume that was super popular, super bright and vivid, and didn't age well, this is the quintessential sugar plus ambrexan kind of scent. It is so annoying. It is effervescent. It just follows you around. I tried to use it when I was hiking outside in the Norwegian mountains, where I was blown by hailing wind. It was like, okay, this has to make it bearable. And every time I would catch a whiff of it, I was like, I hate you so much. It's nauseating, piercing, sweet. And yet, this is what at some point nearly every other bestseller was like back in the day. It's like right before Baccarat Rouge hit the charts, because you can see the traces of these piercing sugary sweetness in here with some like piercing note. Baccarat Rouge took it to a whole another level, but like this was it for a while. I loathe it with passion, and I still used it up, and I promised myself to never do this to myself again. Never ever. I don't care how expensive or popular the perfume is, nothing is worth it if you're not enjoying wearing it. My forever favorite that I stashed so many samples of Replica Exchange lipstick on, it's discontinued now, is this sweet powdery irisy perfume. It's hands down, despite my best efforts to find something more elegant, it's hands down my favorite iris. One of my favorite irises for sure, especially when you talk about gourmands, like sweeter iris perfumes. So I'm just slowly working through my stash of samples that I bought because I was refusing to buy a full-size bottle. It was way too cheesy. And then a subscriber gifted me a bottle, said like, you see, you didn't even have to buy it. Plausible deniability, you don't even have to use it. It's just a gift. You can put it on that shelf and you don't have to tell anyone if you use it. It's like, all right. Working through those. I love it. I love lipstick on, and now that it's discontinued, I feel justified in my love because now it's rare. You know what I mean? Special. All right. Next one, my yet another attempt to befriend Zoologist Bee. I have every respect for Bee. So many perfume houses tried to make a hit with a prominent honey note. Killian is one of them, for example. So many attempts. Amouage had several. Sisley. Many. But only Zoologist. Serge Dutan's. Many. But only Zoologist brought the concept of honey in perfumery to its climax. It has all aspects of different types of honey, this kind of powdery pollen texture, the sweetness, slight roundness, almost caramelized, smoky texture. Everything is in it, and I hate it. Sweet honey does not work for me. I love it in cocktails, all right? I love it on top of my yogurt, real honey. But I can't befriend honey accord as a personal perfume. It is so smothering. Despite the brilliance of Zoologist Bee, I just can't. And I have 8 ml decant waiting for me. I'll just have to like gift it or swap it with someone because it's brilliantly made. Everybody tried before them, but only they managed to execute it. It's bright, it's long-lasting, it's multifaceted, and it delivers to the concept on like 100%. 100%. Everything you love about pollen, honey, bees, it's all there. Seems simple enough, and yet only they managed to do it. Brilliant. Hate it. It's not for me. So I used it up when I was hiking outdoors. Never again. It's too smothering for me, too sweet. All right. Opus 1 by Amouage. I have a whole review of their Royal Library collection that they started kind of repackaging and re-releasing. Some really good stuff there, and I rather enjoy the packaging of the new ones, especially like if you're curious about my absolute top one from the Amouage Royal Library collection, it's gonna be the tobacco. It is the best. Just like Zoologist Bee is the greatest, the most multifaceted and recognizable honey scent in the niche perfumery period. Just like Bigarade Concentré is the citrus in the niche perfumery with all depths and facets of citruses. By Frederic Malle, by the way. In the niche perfumery period, the tobacco by Amouage Library, their opus, is the tobacco. It has all aspects of tobacco, all there. It's the most realistic, deep, multifaceted, long-lasting, incredible tobacco scent. Not the easiest to wear because it's so rich. Don't get me started again. Watch the review. The opus number 1, that is kind of a dud for me. Not because there's anything particularly wrong with it. It's just a convoluted mess of very expensive ingredients. Opus 1 to me doesn't have, it needs some cleaning. It needs some focus. It does smell rich, expensive, long-lasting, and very, very Middle Eastern, but it lacks clarity, in my view. So I finished the decant thanks to my subscriber who shared that with me. Not the easiest to wear just because it's so rich, so vivid, but it kind of falls in so many directions, Opus 1. So not gonna go back to that one. All right, and the last one is Bottega Veneta. I think all Bottega Veneta is now discontinued. If you are ever to chase down some Bottega Veneta fragrances, there are 2 lines that you should consider, and not this one. So this one is Bottega in Flora. This is the most nauseating, piercing, think Paolo Terenzi Kirche and other fruity musks that are just drilling holes in your head. That's what In Flora is. It's dated, it's horrible, it's too much, and it has absolutely zero interest. And instead of training your nose to smell it more, it will, I'm fairly certain, cause a nose blindness sooner or later. Not a good example. But there are 2 lines by Bottega Veneta that are worth the hunt. It's their original line. The bottles are beautiful. Every flanker there was beautiful. And it's kind of like a leathery shipper. It's like Bottega Veneta by Bottega Veneta. And their Parco Palladiano, I think. It's their natural line. To this day, I do not know a better pair than Pera by Bottega Veneta, Parco Palladiano. Incredible. Just incredible pair. Nothing else even comes close. So those are the ones I would rather consider. And Flora was just an embarrassment, really. I understand they need to try to catch the trends. And that maybe it made sense at the time. Right now, years later, this is just an unfortunate mistake in Flora. Nothing to write home about. It's rather annoying. And that is it with our perfume reviews. I was trying to be merciful to myself and you. It's not going to be 50 perfume reviews in one video, all right? But what about the accounting? How much have I actually took accountability for using up? Alrighty, here is our mindful consumption reminder for you and me to actually use what we have and understand what it really takes to use up a full size bottle of a perfume. I only counted the milliliters that I know I used on myself, and I did not count any other perfumes that I'm using at the moment. So this is a low bound. All right, but I guess in a way that was not used in 1 month. Anyway, that just gives us some kind of closure. All of this amounts to me using personally as a personal perfume 90 ml of perfume, of fragrance. 90 ml, not too bad for a month and a half, I think. Not too bad. I do hope to do better next time. I am trying to line up some of the decants because I'm swimming, guys. I'm swimming in decants that I accumulated over the years. And what do? They evaporate. So I'm chasing the precious drops, but I'm also trying to line them up so the next last drops are gonna be thematic, and we can talk about families of fragrances and do like a proper nitty-gritty, meaty comparisons, and to actually judge, are those niche boutique or designer brands worth the money? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've noticed any note or any brand or any family fragrances mentioned here that you think is worth more attention, please share your thoughts, your favorites and your failures. Let's start the discussion. I will see you in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That really does matter. I'm serious. It really does matter. Please give this video a like, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you in the next video.